A very good evening to one and all. Welcome to the undergraduate webinar series, an interactive online platform connecting high school students to the Ashoka community. In this series, we aim to cover topics related to Ashoka's undergraduate program. Our academic counselors will guide you in understanding the various aspects of the university. My name is Rangoli Dhingra, and I thank you for joining us for today's session, a very special webinar with some of our students who are here with us to share their experiences and journey at Ashoka University so far. Without further delay, I would like to welcome our panel of speakers. We have with us Priya Basumatari, a political science major from the batch of 2021.
Hi Rangoli, can you see me yet?
Yes, I can, Priya. Welcome to this session and thank you for being with us.
Thank you so much for having me. It's lovely to be on the panel along with my peers. I really look forward to this session.
Great, look forward to it too. Along with Priya, we have Advait Jaykumar, who's an economics and finance major from the batch of 2022.
Hello, hope everyone's doing safe and well. How are you, Rangoli?
Hi, Advait. Thank you so much for being here and for all the concern. I hope things are good at your end as well.
Yep.
Great. Looking forward to the evening. So I also welcome our next panelist, Ritupar, who's a political science major from the batch of 2021. Hi, Ritupar.
Hello, Rangoli. Thank you for having me here.
Great. Last but not the least, I welcome Trisha Bhattacharya, a major in history from the class of 2021. Hi, Trisha.
Hello, thank you for having me. It's so nice to see so many participants even in such a time.
Great. Looking forward to the session there. Welcome once again and thank you so much for being with us for this session. Priya, Ritupar, Advait and Trisha are senior students who've had the best experience on campus in the past and they continue to excel through the new normal in this work from home pandemic year. This transition couldn't have been easy, but it happened successfully. And for this, credit goes to each and every one, the university, the faculty, the parents, but most of all to the students. If not for their resilience, this would not have been an easy, rather this would have been a very tough challenge to overcome. Before we proceed with the discussion, may I remind you to post any questions you may have in the Q&A box. We'll be taking them up at the end of the session. So let's begin with the one question topmost on everyone's mind. How has the past year been for each one of you? We know you've been dealing with the rigors of academics online, at the same time coexisting with the constant threat of COVID, even within the safe environments at home. So let's begin with you, Priya.
Sure. Do you have any specific questions for me or do you want me to go ahead?
Let's just warm up, with this little information as to how you've managed in this past 1 year, being away from campus at home.
All right, sure. I think one of the things that's common among all of us is the fact that we had almost forgotten how to study at home because after school, it wasn't easy adjusting to the old school desk away from the ones that you're used to on campus. So that change was, of course, very different. But again, you're studying at the comfort of your parents and parents' place, and you have them right next to you if you need any support. So that was helpful. And most importantly, I think faculty played a huge role here because the kind of resources that were available on campus were not so available on our end. So the faculty made sure that we have access to all the regular books, articles online, and made sure if any extra accommodation was to be made, especially for us.
That's fantastic. Thanks, Priya. Thanks for getting us started. And Advait, what about you? I think things have been a little difficult at the home front.
I think it's safe to say that it was overwhelming at first. And I think online itself is really overwhelming and Zoom fatigue was a very real thing. But after time progressed, after an entire semester, I kind of got used to the environment at home and the way you need to work around managing everything on the home front, but keeping things afloat in terms of academics or trying to stay afloat. So I think now I've gotten the hang of it, but it's hard to say. that perfect combination is a little difficult.
Of course. And it's the new thing, that now you were no more that little one that parents and mothers would pamper, and you had to be there for them as well. So, Ritupar, would you like to add something here? How has this last 1 year been for you, this whole change to online and stuff?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, it's not been easy like for any other sector, but I think like given like the fact that the change in our circumstances was so rapid, I think the university was able to provide us with adequate resources almost immediately. We had about 1 week of missed class when the university was planning the sort of like logistics of like how we're going to transfer online, and after that, since then, it's almost been a seamless experience. And some of us have also been called back to campus and because of social distancing rules, we've had the campus operate at a smaller capacity. But even on campus, we've had a good experience where we're able to come back and interact with our friends, which is something I don't think any other sort of like university, at least my peers from my school, have been able to experience over the past 1 year. So, I mean, it's not been ideal, but I think the university has been helping us do this the best they can.
Great. So I think Ashoka went online right from March to 2020, and ever since, seamless is one word that has stuck to the experience that most children share with us. What about you, Trisha? You'd like to add something here?
Yes, sure. Like Yusufa said, we went online almost immediately, and it was initially very difficult to adjust because, searching for a Zoom link through your mail for a class for your 8:30 class is not something you're used to, So that, was something, that we all had to adjust to, studying in your rooms when there's so many people around in the house. But I think it was just something that needed time and, of course, a lot of patience. And I would say that, the professors especially were really helpful because most of them, really understood the fact that it's not the same when you're working in a pandemic situation. So if you needed extensions, if you needed some specific, resource, like Priya said, that they will, send it to you because, you don't have the library anymore to access. And then university also gave us access to a lot of other sources, journals and articles and, magazines online that we would have had just through the library earlier. So I think a lot of small things here and there were made available, and which sort of integrated with time. It just took some effort.
Yeah. So I guess it took a little while for everybody to get used to it. And here I'd like all of us to thank our parents and everybody at home, because you really did encroach upon their space. And I think all of them have been giving you the space at home to continue with your academic pursuits. So here, Ritupar, I'd like to just begin with a question for you. Many times, we get queries from prospective students who are keen to pursue law. And I know from our conversation earlier that you were all set to go to law school. These students now, they often wonder if it would be wiser to opt for liberal studies at Ashoka University. And if yes, then what is it that they should opt to study? Something that affords them the freedom to pursue a career in their field of interest. So I understand you made this choice 3 years ago. Could you share with us what is it that helped you decide upon a major in political science and a minor in IR, international relations, over law school?
Yeah. Correctly so, Rangoli. So, I mean, I got into the National University of Geographical Sciences and I cleared the CLAT. I also got into like a bunch of other law schools, private law schools across the country. And I mean, like around June, July, I think, of 2018, I think this choice presented itself to me. And I chose to come to Ashoka primarily because of two reasons. One is like law school, it's like a sort of Indian curriculum. An Indian curriculum, I mean, it's a sort of input-based model where you have smart students that are selected through an extremely rigorous process that are put together. And there's very little value that the university itself is able to add to the academic experience of the students. The students are expected to collaborate with each other, and and through that there's this sort of like excellence that gets created. But I wanted to be in a space where even the university could actually provide something to me in terms terms of the sort of like my own academic experience. And for that, I looked at Ashoka, which has a faculty which is honestly world class, and I've been vindicated at least on that front. And of course, there's also a rigorous testing process to get into Ashoka. So I mean, I am sure of the fact that my peers are going to be as smart as me, if not smarter. And so, I mean, that was the basic reason why I came to Ashoka. Now, if I wanted to pursue law again, I mean, later in my life, I always have the opportunity to do the same. I still do. I can go into any of the 3-year law programs in the United Kingdom, or a bunch of universities in India, which are also pretty good, offer 3-year law programs. And so that's always been an option that's remained open for me. And so by joining Ashoka, not only have I been able to keep my options open, I've also been able to receive a better education. And I would believe that in case I do want to do law later in my life, I would be a better lawyer because of my understanding of politics and economics and international relations, which honestly is not the primary interest of education in law school.
Right, that's a fantastic input, Ritupar, and that pretty much validates our claims with students when we are counseling them at school level. And this is something that we want to highlight, and you did that beautifully for us, that there is an option to pursue law even after your degree at Ashoka. And I think what you gain through this is absolutely, irreplaceable. So thank you so much, Ritupar, for that very valuable input. So coming to you, Advait, I'm actually quite intrigued by your profile. You are pursuing an interdisciplinary major in economics and finance and a minor in history. Apart from that, Advait, you've also been involved with a number of clubs and societies. Now, you are interested in theater, music, history, economics, and many more, societies. And all this for a student who wanted to initially study design and architecture. So here we are very keen to understand how and when did you decide on economics and finance, and what role did the foundation year play in this process for you? Could you just begin by telling us a little bit about the foundation courses here?
Okay, so I started off with architecture and design. I went through all the entrance exams and I got through certain colleges that I was interested in getting through. But I applied to Ashoka not knowing too much about Ashoka, but I just applied because the application fee was free. But I knew that joining a liberal arts university, as Ritupar said, I'd get to study subjects that I would never get exposed to in school. So, like history and environmental studies that I wasn't allowed to take after 10th standard in school, right? I could literally take one course of philosophy here, and that would be enough to, satisfy my craving at least for that subject for the time being. And that I got through Ashoka. And I fully exploited that with my foundation courses as well. When I knew that when I came to Ashoka, I was like, all right, I think it's going to be economics, something going towards economics. So I deliberately took foundation courses that were not economics. I took a foundation course that was in every other field, one from the Phil department, from the history department, the EVS department, and the literature department. And I deliberately did these foundation courses because I realized that this could expose me to certain fields that I would probably never have done before, and it could open up another path for another minor or a concentration. Or if not, it would at least give me the exposure to learn another subject that I've probably not given enough emphasis to or impetus to it in my school level. It was just physics, chemistry, and math and English, right? So I think when I got here, the fact that I could study so many broad topics and how towards the end, all my foundation courses somewhat blended together, where I feel like one was connecting to another towards the end. And I would have that one moment in class and I'm like, I just did the same reading or a similar reading in another course. And I see how that ties in here. And that was like an actual mind-opening moment, which is why I felt like the foundation courses was so helpful in giving me some sort of a break before economics, like rigorous economics in my second and third year, but also for me to properly enjoy my first year with other courses and other subjects.
Great, thank you so much, Advait. Ritupar, coming back to you, since your choice was also like different from what you had planned for yourself, did the foundation year, the first year, play a very crucial role in your choices as well?
Yes, absolutely. So, I mean, as you people might know, in Ashoka, in the first semester, you're not allowed to take any of your major courses. You're only allowed to take foundation courses. And for my first year, the foundation courses I took were in the fields of the arts, in the literature, the sciences, in like both a math course, which was heavy on calculus, and a course on the history of science. And I had another course for the introduction of critical thinking, which was like more broader course, like aimed at like, inculcating critical thinking. So what I basically had was like these three very different ways of thinking, completely unrelated from my like prospective major, which is political science. And I was really exposed to like a very different way of approaching the same sort of problem. Now, for example, not to like get too heavily in on my major, one of the primary authors I consult for my work is Luis Althusser, and he's primarily read in literature, right? And I mean, as a political science major, to be able to like go and read his work, I mean, was something I was exposed to only because of the fact that I took a literature course which had Althusser as one of the readings. So you'll find all these sort of interconnections between foundation courses and your major courses later on, and this will really enrich your experiences. It'll be a different experience from, say, someone from DU pursuing the same sort of area. Yeah.
So I think I'm only going to enjoy this conversation more and more because you guys are only making it easier for the outreach people. When we talk to students, we really stress upon the value of the interdisciplinary, studies, the option to study many subjects in one particular go. So I think this totally validates it. So what about you, Priya? Do you also feel this way about the many subjects you were exposed to in your foundation year?
So in my foundation year, I took a course called QRMT, and I always believed that I like maths, but math does not like me. But the course proved it wrong. The way mathematics and quantitative thinking was exposed to me through that course was really different. It was very different from what we were taught in CBSE and NCERT books, and it made me want to continue in that field. Later on, in my major, I took a course called Quantitative Research Methods, which involved a lot of maths and quantitative thinking plus coding in the R program. And I know I'm a political science major and a history minor, but I was shifting gears a lot here. And then I ended up in the computer science department taking Introduction to Computer Programming. So I think that's the impact that one foundation course had on me in my first year. That's been carried forward to my third. And I think it's really helped me grow in different fields apart from my major.
Okay, thanks, Priya. We get many students who question us as to why should you study something that you don't wish to pursue. So this pretty much answers these questions. And coming to you, Trisha, did you have a similar experience with your foundation year?
I actually had like a one step further experience because I came into Ashoka wanting to study biology without, you know, I hadn't done biology in 11th, 12th, right? I did physics, chemistry, maths, and economics. And I wanted to do biology as something, different in a liberal arts university. And one of the foundation courses that I took in my first semester was a history foundation course. And I loved the course and the professor so much and I used to hate history in school because of CBSE and the books and, just the way that it was taught. And I went through that course and I felt like I was in a completely new world. And I ended up changing my major completely to history and international relations because of that one single foundation course that I took. So, I mean, they're extremely helpful, I would say. And the critical thinking courses that we are supposed to take are actually some of my favorite ones. Like both the ones that I took, they were really impactful and really helpful. And I'm really glad because they were also some of my best professors and best classes, like in terms of my peers. So I think, and since foundation courses are larger classrooms, essentially speaking, apart from the critical thinking ones, as you go on in your major, your classes start getting smaller. So, obviously there's more discussion involved in smaller classes, but in bigger classes, you also have more voices and more opinions. So I think that's one thing that's really different about foundation courses.
Great. Thank you so much. I think that's some fantastic input from all four of you. And this really strengthens our case with prospective students when we talk to them about the foundation year. Okay, moving on, Priya, I'd like to ask a specific question. I understand you've been actively involved with the internship cell and the placement committee at Ashoka. And despite the uncertainties of this last 1 year, the internship cell successfully organized its first ever virtual fair. So, can you please share this experience with us, please?
Sure. So I've been a part of the internship cell for the past 2 years at least, and placement committee for the last 1 year. Although placements and internships start in the month of roughly June and go on till the end of the semester, we have a flagship event called the Ashoka Internship Fair, where majority of the recruiters show up on one day, and interviews are held. The final interviews are held on the same day, and the results go out by the end of the day. And the students either accept or reject the offer. And regarding the COVID challenges, I would say the COVID year was better than the non-COVID year for a variety of reasons. First of all, we saw some of the very big names in the industry, and we were offered the highest package in terms of internships, which was 3 lakhs for 2 months. And I think that was unbelievable and exceptional for a liberal arts school, which is very young as compared to the older and bigger names of Delhi University and IIMs. So that was something that I was really proud of my team. And regarding the COVID challenges, I would say the hiring cycle was better because of the online mode. Earlier, hiring process on campus was difficult because of traveling issues, scheduling. We had classes. The recruiters had to travel all the way from their original cities to campus, and all of this was it involved a lot of hassle financially as well as logistically. So when we moved to an online platform, let's say Zoom or AirMeet, it all the scheduling part of it, it was at least much easier. And with the introduction of new rounds such as higher view round, which is an interview that is held on video and it is sent to the recruiter, I think the face of hiring industry has really changed, and it's changed for the better because it's going to teach candidates a lot of new skills, like communicating via a camera. There's no one looking at you, you're just looking at a blank screen, and yet you're able to transfer your emotions, transfer your talent through that camera. So that's something that the candidates are very well going to learn in this hiring season. And as far as the future of hiring season in the COVID industry goes, I think it's going to change for the better. It's going to get easier, it's going to get creative, and it's going to get innovative. So all those preparing for placements or internships for the upcoming cycle, I would really say pull up your socks, and there are new things coming on your way. It's no longer just a CV and an interview, it's going to get more creative than that. So I would suggest that you start pulling up your game as well.
Right. Thank you so much, Priya. This really is very encouraging because internships and placements was a big and a very genuine worry for students who are looking at courses at the university. And this really, I think, should put everybody's mind to rest. Just one more question, Priya, before I move on. I understand you belong to a very small, pretty city in Assam. I belong to a small city as well. And, of course, every year Ashoka makes very special efforts to ensure diversity on campus. And talking about geographical diversity, we're very proud to have students from all over the country and, in fact, many foreign countries as well. So, you from Assam, if you compare the time that you applied to Ashoka to how things stand now, do you feel the awareness and interest in liberal education has gone up in recent years?
Oh, definitely. I would say yes. because back when I applied to Ashoka, I got to know about Ashoka initially because of a session that was held at my school. And Ashoka back then was only 4 years old for the undergraduate program. And I did not have a senior to look up to who had previously been a part of Ashoka. So that was a struggle. I did not know what I was walking into. It was a gamble indeed. But now, when I see all my juniors trying to reach me on WhatsApp, trying to reach me on Facebook, just to know how Ashoka is, how has it been, like how has my experience been on campus? It's really nice that the students now are starting to look up to what their seniors are doing. I think that really changes the game when you have a senior in that particular college. So the session really played an important role for me and my juniors. And I think the way students are looking at liberal education now is really different, especially because of the new economic policy that came out. They are also integrating parts of liberal education in CBSE schools, Indian education system now. So I believe that will really impact the way students think about it. And additionally, the part that I already mentioned, there's seniors being involved, they're being inspired by what we're doing, they're seeing how we're succeeding or where we're taking our lives to, and they're getting inspired. So I believe these two factors really make a difference.
Great. That's fantastic. Trisha, coming to you, I know that you have been very closely involved with the campus tours. So who better than you to tell us something about the campus? Maybe you could begin by telling us something about some popular events on campus. We've heard of Banjara, and I know that you have been involved with Banjara. What exactly is it? Or maybe Agnipat, or any other event that you'd like to share?
Yes, so now that all the events are part of my job as a campus tour head, but I would say there's something happening every other day, if not like week on campus. And you have festivals for everything. So like Banjara is the typical college fest that we have that has all these competitions. But then you will have like we had a very successful literature festival one year. Agnipat is the sports fest, and then you'll have normal nights where there's like a battle of bands competition happening or something. There are very regular talks that are given by eminent personalities on campus. So a Wednesday or a Thursday afternoon, some of the other department is organizing, and they're all open to the students. And if it's an extremely eminent or big personality who's coming to give a talk, then we'll open up the auditorium, or Takshila, which is like a 200-seater. So there's always something happening. You'll have the business conclave, or there's like a history society event, or feminist collective is screening movies, or Navrang, the film society, is screening movies, or you're just there's everything happening all the time. So you'll never be short of things to do on campus.
Right. So also, Trisha, we've heard a number of students who say that Ashoka for them is home away from home. So what is it about the campus that makes you feel at home? And this is one question I'd like to pass on to all of you. What is the one thing that makes you feel so at home on campus at Ashoka?
I think it's not just one thing, it's like a combination of a lot of things. And obviously, it depends from person to person. But like for me, I was lucky enough to find two very good roommates in my first and my second year. So, the room becomes something that you are really attached to because it's a shared space, obviously, but also feels like your own tiny space. And maybe your floor mates or your friends whose your room you can go to, and then um, just this one study space that you might find, or some club or society that you're part of that you really really enjoy, or you just go to the dhaba to have chai at like 2 a.m. because you were studying, or coffee in the middle of the day when you're running from one class to the other, like small things that become very intrinsically part of your routine. And it's obviously different from home because there's a constant run to go from one thing to the other in here and there. So I think those small things which become a part of your life because you're there on a huge campus with so many other people, but you're finding your own space. I think so that's something that is what I think that is what makes Ashoka home. You feel like you become a part of something.
Very, very well brought out, and it definitely are those small things, that make the seemingly insignificant things that become such a huge part of your college life. So, Ritupar, tell me, have you ever? I know it's a busy life on campus, but has there been an instance where you felt bored on campus?
Of course, I mean, there are times when I do feel bored, but that being said, I think, I very rarely feel bored at Ashoka. Primarily because you've got such a fantastic peer group with whom you can interact, and more importantly, I think the campus gives us adequate spaces for recreation, right? So the sports block is, I think, one primary place where a lot of us get together to just meet each other and like do activities together. A lot of us pick up new sports over the time at Ashoka. Like for example, I used to play squash before I came to Ashoka, and now a bunch of my friends play it with me. Like I taught it to them, and I'm very happy about it. So that's one particular space where we all like to congregate. We have four and now five very well equipped common rooms where people are like, it's almost like you won't find a time in the day when it's empty. Like, I mean, 24/7. It's because someone or the other is there all the time, and people are either studying, they're playing board games, they're playing video games on the large television, or they're watching a movie together. So there's always something for you to do with your peer group, and there's always a space for you to do it in, right? So, I mean, it's very rare that you'll find yourself bored at Ashoka, and really, I mean, you can make use of your time however you want, and there's very little restrictions in terms of the timing in which you can actually do stuff. You're the master of your own time, and there's very few restrictions that prevent you from doing what you want.
Great. So correct me if I'm wrong, Ritupar, you may get bored, but you'll rarely be lonely on campus at Ashoka. Am I right?
Yeah, you're right.
Okay, great, great. So Advait, before I move on and forget about this all-important question, since we're talking about life on campus, a very integral component of liberal education is community involvement. And at Ashoka, every student is committed in different ways towards the betterment of the community. And you, Advait, you mentioned that you are an elected student representative and currently the campus life minister. So can you please share with us what exactly is your charter of duty as part of the Ashoka student government?
So I think the ambit of the student government is fairly broad. I think every school also has one, but I think it's a one version ramped up. But in college, you interact with campus issues such as infrastructure problems, or if there are certain students who are facing particular problems and they want to be accommodated on campus, that's something that we work towards. There's academic related things. Then you have, right now that we're currently working towards is fundraising for students, fundraising for the student community, or COVID support that's currently going on right now. And I think what the student government does is very, very broad, and there's a lot of issues that come under it with regard to financial aid, or there are any questions with regard to going for fest in terms of the cultural ministry, or literally the environment on campus with the environment ministry. So I think that as a campus life minister, it's a lot of job is to enrich campus as a space and work towards making it a more holistic space such that it's accommodative for all types of people, it's accessible for everyone, and it is easy to navigate around, because it will get daunting in your first week on campus and it is going to get exhausting. And I think part of the role is to ensure that transition is a lot more smooth. And of course, with regard to the SG, there's a lot of other things that also we do. So that's primarily something that is important in terms of the role of an SG right now.
Great. And that's an additional role for you to play other than your very many involvements on campus. And Ritupar, Advait mentioned that prior to him being the campus life minister, you held this role as well. So how was your experience, very briefly?
So, I mean, like Advait, I had a similar experience. I think, the role of the student government is to obviously like enrich the lives of students on campus, and I think they do a much better job on it, than sometimes even the administration, because we directly listen to the students, right? And we have a healthy working relationship with the administration. And when there are disagreements, we obviously have negotiations, and things usually end up working out. And I think it's extremely important to know that this is a student government that's recognized by the university administration, right? So it's not just one of those student governments that just exist in name. There are elections that happen, and this is taken very, very seriously, right? Obviously, there's no sort of violence or sloganeering that happens on campus, but there are intense debates that take place every March or every February, and like almost the entire campus is crammed in a single room trying to attend these debates and look at the new candidates try to speak against each other, and so to speak, you do have a culture where like the political issues are discussed in a very intense manner, right? And I might disagree with someone, but the fact is that we need to have debates about it, and it's never been a one-sided debate on any sense. You'll always find someone at Ashoka who's disagreeing with you, and the student government is often a platform where these debates are had and engaged in. So yeah.
Great. So you do get a voice and you are heard and you do master the art of hearing as well. So that is something really, really important to learning. Now, I can't help but look into the questions that are coming up, very, very interesting ones. And the first question that comes up is straight for Advait. He says, hi, Advait, did you have any opportunities to explore your earlier interest prior to Ashoka, that is design and architecture?
So I did, and I'm very fortunate I did get to. First of all, I got to interact with peers and seniors who were interested in this similar field, and I did end up meeting people who have actually gone through the same process. That was the first primary thing. And in terms of clubs and societies, I've gotten to work and work on my design skills in societies and clubs where I can design things or logos and event posters, etc., things like that. And in terms of my academic courses as well, surprisingly, yes, some of my economics electives that I'm going to be taking for are very heavy involved in terms of urban economics, or even in my history course, there's a lot of influence of ancient and early medieval architecture, where I was picking up everything that I was going to be studying on a technical level at college before Ashoka, and I was learning the theory aspect of it and what the true meaning behind it stands. So I'm very, very fortunate to have got the mix, and I'm pretty sure, which is why I'm inclined towards this, even in terms of post grad. So I'm looking at a mix of these two, hopefully. So I'm very fortunate that I got to, grow this passion and ensure that the fire doesn't burn out in some sense, at least in college for the past few years.
So great. I think it won't be, untrue to say that you really don't have to give up anything in order to pursue something else. So you really are doing your learning side by side, which is a great thing. So there's this one question, and I leave it to any of you to answer this. Was the curriculum modified to adjust to online learning? And what special arrangements did Ashoka make to ensure that education was as effective online? Anybody would like to take this? Yeah, okay, Trisha?
I mean, somebody can obviously add to this,
Yes,
but
yes.
I think the I would say that it was an initial issue because so many, like, let's say 30 people on one Zoom class was initially quite a issue. But I think one of the things was just using the chat box effectively to do this, and doing assignments on, let's say, Google Classroom, so that you have like a time upload. But like, I mean, that existed earlier also, but like everything, all the resources and everything went online on one place. And professors would then also show us screen share slides, and or show YouTube videos, or send us movies to watch at home, because that might have been like a group activity for one day in this thing. But like, I've had like movie screenings for classroom for like one class online. So like at 8 p.m. on one Friday night, everybody went, like, came together to watch like a movie. So I think those things that the professors try to accommodate small bits here and there to make up for whatever we would have missed out on, had we
Yes.
actually been there. So I think that's the
Great. Advait, you want to add something to that? Yeah.
I think professors were exceedingly accommodative. I think they were very cognizant of the fact that not everyone is coming from the same background. Everyone has difficulties in terms of internet issues or any other issue that one might be facing. And professors were very understanding of that. They'd give you extensions on deadlines. They'd give you additional material, or they would even reduce material if necessary, or they would have separate, they try to keep live exams or asynchronous classes, things like that, to make up for everything that was going on. And professors went out of the way to have office hours. In fact, it was very comforting, that they're also going through the same process, and an amount of that empathy was shown towards us. It's that everyone is in this together. So when a professor was fatigued, they would be very acknowledging. They'd be very acknowledging of it, that they're also going through it, right? And apart from that, they were very available for office hours or any questions, any email. In fact, the online team were far more comfortable in terms of just shooting a simple email to the professor, and then you could fix office hours for them. And there were a lot of mechanisms that they said in terms of peer mentorship, at least with seniors and juniors, or cohort programs. A lot of these things online did really help.
Right. So it has been very, very new for everybody. But at the bottom line is, I think everybody came forward and helped one another, whether it was your the faculty or the students or your peers. So that's a beautiful thing. Priya, you want to add something here?
Yes, I also wanted to talk about the autonomy that the professors are given with respect to designing their courses.
Yes.
So, because of the online mode, it was very difficult to put all the pressure on a midterm exam and a final exam. So the professors took the liberty to divide the workload instead of having a full-on midterm exam and having your having half of your grade depending on it. Instead, you could have maybe a week reflection paper, just a 500-word paper or less, where you talk about what you found interesting about the class, what you found interesting about the readings, and maybe 50 or even more percent of your grade could depend on that. So that sort of flattening out of pressure in terms of examinations really helped.
Yeah. Great. Yeah, go on, Trisha.
Just wanting to add, like, one immediate change in regards to this was like, in the first semester that we had online, the half that we had, I was actually going to have like an exam for one of my history courses, and they changed the exam to be like a sort of like a paper submission of sorts, but still an exam. So like they give you like a paper to write, but they give you 24 hours. So they'll give you a question and they'll say, we want 1500 words in this, but we're giving you 24 hours to write it. So, things like that also happen, like immediate changes
Yeah.
instead of sitting online for 3 hours and giving an exam. So, that sort
Yes.
of
Yeah.
accommodation was also made.
So fantastic. I think the teaching, the online imparting of your classroom sessions has definitely involved, and it seems everybody fell into pace with whatever was happening, right? So I'll just move on to the next question, and this seems to be a very important one. There's a prospective student who's reached out to all of you, and here he says, or she says, I have faced a lot of challenges with learning and have recently been diagnosed with ADHD. I have learned that it is hard to survive in most college environments in India. What about Ashoka? Will I be able to keep up with the course? Any of you would like to just take that? Yes, Priya, please.
I think the one office that is coming to all our minds is the Office of Learning Support, also known as OLS, which helps students with special needs, physical, mental, or any of the special needs to take care of their accommodations that have to be made with respect to courses. They will maybe allow you a peer tutor who's going to help you with the courses, or
Yes.
assign you a mentor who's going to take care of other activities, not just academics. So they're active all around the year. In fact, they're even active before Ashoka begins. So you have a special week for students with special requirements before the semester begins, and they're given all sorts of programs and trainings to cope up with the challenges that are going to come up in the academic year.
Great. So there is a dedicated office that looks into the requirements of, rather, the very special requirements of students. So I'm sure the students are going to be happy to learn about that. Trisha, you want to add something here?
Yes, I would also like to like point out two other places. So we have the CWC, so the Center for Writing. So basically, if you like, I actually did use it in my first year too, and you're encouraged to. So for people who might be coming from a place where, like I did, like CBSE, where you don't have any prior background in like writing papers, let's say, or you are struggling with how to structure one. So you can go there and they'll help you out. So you can book an appointment and they'll actually help you how to write a paper. So I think that would be really helpful for people with learning disabilities also. And we also have the Ashoka Center for Wellbeing, so ACWB. So they also offer counseling sessions which are required, and I know lots of people, including my roommate, and even I was going to take. So you can go there if you again book an online slot, and they'll help you. Let's say if you're dealing with something extremely tough that week or that month, and they also help with restructuring your schedule and how to balance this or that, and they'll give you suggestions on what to do and what not to do with regards to Ashoka specifically. And you also have like a peer support group in our mental health collective called Kinsuki. So you can reach out to them also. And a lot of the professors are extremely understanding about mental health concerns. And I'm speaking from personal experience, having brought up such concerns to professors. So they'll be really, really supportive if you bring up such, problems and say that, hello, let's say, this particular thing is difficult, or, this course is being a little difficult for me. And they might actually give you extra office hours to explain something to you, or they'll ask somebody from your class to explain something to you. So the support is always available.
Great. That is very encouraging input, and coming from you, I think it makes all the sense. And I hope the student has, been listening in with all that he asked being clarified. So here's a question specifically for Ritupar, and the student wants to know what are the best learnings over the last 3 years that have stayed with you. You seem to have got a fan in there, Ritupar.
Yeah, so I mean, look, I think like the one basic way in which I've, like something I've taken away throughout my 3 years at Ashoka is the way in which there's been a subtle change in which I approach problems, right? I was a student who studied science in 11th and 12th, and I mean, I was planning on doing engineering at least when I entered 11th, if not the pure sciences. And I think there's almost like a sort of rigorous scientific method to approaching every problem, right? And I mean, you have like control group trials, and like there's this like very rational way of like approaching problems, which is almost very linear, right? Now, obviously, that's very helpful. That's why we have vaccines today. But there are also other ways of approaching problems, right? Where you think of like problems in a sort of like multidisciplinary sense. And quite often, especially in the social sciences, it's very difficult to apply scientific principles and scientific methods to arrive at a solution. You want to like look at the relationship between two variables, between poverty and inequality or something like that. You have to have like a much more broader and holistic understanding of the two problems and the sort of historical circumstances which led to that. And I think a liberal arts education like allowed me to have like a more better idea of like reasoning of that sort. And right, so that's my biggest takeaway. Just like the way in which I approach problems has like expanded over the past 3 years.
So still pretty much on the same lines, Ritupal, what advice would you give to someone who is not sure of what they want to do in their future as a major?
So, I mean, I did not know that I wanted to become a political science major when I came to Ashoka. I, like Advait, wanted to become an economics major. That being said, one thing, I mean, for me, it wasn't even foundation courses that helped. It was rather interaction with other peers who were seniors and looking at the course curriculum in itself. And I mean, you will have the second semester to basically do introductory courses. A lot of my friends did like multiple introductory courses. Like one of my friends did 2 courses in economics, one in psychology and one in literature. And she ended up picking literature. I had an intuition that I would like political science. So I took a couple of courses in political science and I had an intuition and I really liked it, right? So when you come to Ashoka, like interact with the seniors, interact with like faculty, have a look at what you're being taught, and have, more importantly, I think, ask yourself the question: do I really enjoy studying this? Because at the end of the day, I mean, it's undergrad. You can obviously if you want to make a shift in career, you can obviously do it later. But at this point, it's really important to like figure out your interests and like pursue them, because this is the place where you like kind of build your base, right? And I mean, that's what I did, and I love political science. I like studying it, and just keep an open mind is what I'd say.
Yes. Yeah. I was about to come to that. Keep an open mind, very, very important. And you have an entire year to decide what you want to do. A very, very wholesome year where you are exposed to various disciplines, various subjects, and you have ample time to make an informed decision, right? So, one question leads to the other. And since we are talking a lot about peer learning, since peer learning is an integral part and one of the key USPs of Ashoka, how has Ashoka ensured that this happens since learning has gone online? Yes, Advait, please share your views on this.
So this is a program that I'm currently part of, something that the OLS has started. It's the Ashoka Peer Mentorship Program, where seniors and from multiple batches can sign up, and they'll be allotted a mentee or a bunch of mentees, and there'll be one-on-one, either weekly or monthly interactions between the senior and the student, and answering any questions with regard to either, again, life at Ashoka, academic issues, internship, or anything in general. So that support structure was the first that's started online. What was there previously was the cohort leadership program as well. I think a lot of us were also cohort leaders, and every student is part. Every first year is a part of the cohort leadership. It joins the program, and it's a small community to start off with to help around, at least in terms of peer learning. And you have your two cohort leaders to go back to in terms of any doubts you have throughout the year. I'm still in touch with a lot of my cohort, people who are part of my cohort, and those who were part of the cohort when I was the cohort leader. So I think these two mechanisms are the first thing that I remember, and have been really, really helpful.
So yes, Trisha, you want to add something here?
And we also have what we call discussion sections in our classes, which is basically like a focus group, like broken down from a larger class, and that happens once a week, depending upon whether the class has it or not. So essentially, it's not the professor, but it's a teaching fellow or a teaching assistant taking that class, and you'll have, let's say, 5 or 6, like maybe up to 10 people in that. So that is also one space, and it exists offline also. It exists on campus too. So obviously it's the same transition to online. So even that is one space that people use to interact directly with your peers, because that is essentially meant just to talk to your classmates and discuss what was learned in the class with the professor.
So peer learning continues. It doesn't matter how the peer learning continues. Am I right on that? Yes, yes. So, Priya, there's one question for you. And since you are involved with so many clubs and societies, the student wants you to elaborate on the clubs and extracurriculars at Ashoka. If you can just share what you can.
Sure. So I started with Navrang, the Film Society of Ashoka. I was a part of it for 1 year, and then I was the head of it for another. That was the prime year of my college life. But yeah, that gave me an opportunity. So Navrang basically screens a movie, a couple of movies sometimes weekly, and we often collaborate with different clubs and societies on campus, not just clubs and societies on campus, but off campus. We collaborate with independent filmmakers, we collaborate with different centers on campus and faculties. So that's where I learned most of my collaboration and communication skills, when I had to strike a deal with, let's say, the Center of Philanthropic Approach, where I had to negotiate whether we can have a screening. And if we're having a screening, how is it going to benefit them as a center? What is it going to do for their cause? Similarly, I had to do the same with other clubs. If I am having a screening for NEEV, which is for the children of most of our work staff at Ashoka, how is it going to benefit them? Are they going to learn something new, or are they just here to watch a movie? So that's where I learned how to build up a network and do it strategically so that it benefits the both of us. I'm sorry, could you repeat the question? I think I lost.
Yes, so if you can just tell us about the various clubs and societies at Ashoka. I know that there's something to do with theater, with music, with storytelling, maybe a history society, and so on and so forth. Something that immediately comes to your mind?
So every college has these basic societies, the music society, the dance society, film, theater. But at Ashoka, you'll find people bringing up their interest and trying to make the best of it. We have a baking club. They own an oven, and they often hold baking activities and deliver those products to your room, maybe at midnight or even after that. So that is something that I really find interesting. There's a poetry club. um, there's uh, there's a MUN club, which I'm not sure if Ritupar is maybe a part of it, but yes, since he's very fond of debating. So yeah, there's that, and in fact, there's one more thing that I'd like to add. If you're not comfortable with the kind of clubs that are already available and you want to push for something
Yes.
more, what you
Yeah.
can do is introduce something new, maybe propose something, a new initiative to the Office of
Yes.
Student Life. And if they like the idea, if your idea is really pushing for something that you're passionate about, then they'll approve it, and voila, you'll officially have a new club or a society with a
Fantastic.
budget.
That's fantastic, and I can see Advait nodding away because in my conversation with him earlier, he did mention about an EVS society, right? Advait, would you like to just speak about that?
Yeah, so as Priya said, also we're also proposing to start something. So just like how every single club or society started in Ashoka with a student approaching the admin and saying, hello, we want to start this club or society. That's how we're currently working with a bunch of other students to formulate an EVS society at Ashoka, an EVS academic society where we can there's a far the discourse of environmental studies is beyond, the what's currently done at least the mainstream discussion that we always find. And it's something that we're trying to make EVS a more interdisciplinary approach, just beyond saving plants or trees and things like that. That's something currently that we're working towards, and we've received a lot of support from faculty and the administration, and hope to properly kick it off in the coming months with.
Fantastic. All the best. Yes, the environment is something that is a very, very dynamic topic, relevant yesterday, today, and tomorrow. So, all the best for that, Advait. And maybe we have time. Yes, Trisha, you'd like to just say something?
Sorry, if there isn't time, it's
No,
fine.
there is time. There's always time. Please go ahead.
So I just wanted to say, like, I've been a part of like different things. So like, I was a part of the dance society and the history society at the same time, and we put together a combined event. So like, I was the liaison between both. Like Priya was saying, you do this. So like, you have combined events also. So we put up like a history event, like a concert of sorts. So we had people perform there. So you have a lot of those events also, and you every semester towards the end of the semester you have like a clubs and societies fair and like performances from clubs that perform. So there's that aspect to it also. It's not just you are going in and spending the entire semester just talking to people, but you're actually working towards something to put on at that fair. So like the performing clubs, whether it's Kildar or it's the music the star ones, they'll put on shows, and other ones, they put up stalls, and some will sell stuff. So a lot of societies are also allotted budgets, so you have to manage money also, which can go towards things, whether it's towards buying something that like equipment that is required, or towards setting up a table at the fair to sell something more and things like that. So it's like it's like a very broad thing. It's not just meeting 7 people through the
Yes,
semester.
yes, yes. It's an entire activity put together. So, lastly, I think we do have time for this one. And I see that there is a student here who wanted to study design and architecture. There's a student here who almost went to law school. There's a student here who applied and got through without a H. And there's a student here who, well, just because it was online, the application was online, and you had nothing to lose, so you applied and you got through, and you decided that this is what you want to do and never regretted that. So, please, if you could just briefly touch upon the fact, rather the online application process, and what is the kind of role that played in your decision or your the process of you getting through to a shoot. Each one of you, before we just end the session today. You'd like to start this, Priya?
Sure, why not? So, my journey to how I ended up in Ashoka is quite interesting, for me at least. So, like I've already mentioned that I got to know about Ashoka when somebody from Ashoka visited my school campus, which was Delhi Public School, Guwahati. And I was really, really intrigued by the whole structure because I had never seen anything like that before. I was one of those students who thought academics was everything, and who only, as an art student, who only looked up to Delhi University and the top 10 colleges, nothing else. So that was it for me. There was nothing beyond that. And coming from a army background, I didn't have any plans to study abroad or such. So yeah, but by the end of the presentation, when we reached the fee part of it, I was a little taken aback because I honestly couldn't afford it, and I thought maybe some other time, maybe for a YF program in 3 years, but not now. So I let it go. But one day when an email popped up in my inbox, I opened it and I saw, why not? Maybe give it a shot, because even the application was really interesting. They didn't ask for my grades. They asked for my extracurricular activity. They asked for an essay, which is quite unique to Indian colleges. And I am a fan of talking. I love writing. So I I wrote that bit about myself. And when I got the interview call, my interview was actually scheduled in Kolkata, and I was in Guwahati. So I took my first ever solo trip to Kolkata, and in fact, I even talked about it in my interview. The first 10 minutes were just about my trip there. And that's where it got interesting. My parents were actually quite against me taking the trip because they knew that they couldn't afford the fees of Ashoka. And if I make it, they might not be able to send me there. But when I got the offer, which comes with the details of financial aid, my parents were shocked because so how things work in Assam, and my parents have always been and studied in Assam, is that you pay the fee and then it's returned to you. But when as far as my family is concerned, you have to have the money to pay the fee. So but Ashoka's financial aid program was really different from what my parents had seen, and that really gave me the green signal to go ahead with the program, and that's how I ended up with Ashoka.
Fantastic. So this is something very important that you brought up. Never say never. Do not self-eliminate at any stage. If things have to work out, they will. And there is a system in place that gets you where you deserve to be. So any parting shots in that? Yes, Trisha.
So I was actually, planning. The first thing that I had in mind was not to go to DU at all because I live 10 minutes away from North Campus, and it's been like a ghost behind my back for years. So I was like, I'm not going there. And I was looking into maybe studying abroad. I, just looked at places, not applied anywhere, or, other places in India and things. And a lot of my family members, in fact, who are in academia, like, cousins or, uncles and stuff like that, they all suggested, we're hearing a lot about Ashoka in academic circles. Why don't you just try? So I actually applied in the first round, which happens in the November of the year before you join. It ends there, and I submitted my application on the last day. And you are supposed to, like, I was like finding certificates and stuff because so much of the focus is on your extracurricular and co-curricular activities, and you have to put everything up and then write the essay. And then I got a call for an interview, which was just 3 days after the final date of the application. And I was quite scared because like there was like no time to prepare. And even there on that day, you have a test, like an aptitude test, which you can skip if you've given like the SAT or ECT. And then you have to write another on the spot essay, and then you have your interview. And I think I was just rambling through my interview because they don't really want you to, memorize anything and go. They'll ask you
Okay,
very,
that's right.
very on the spot, offhand questions, and you're just thinking about stuff. And I just spent like half an hour like talking to them while these two people were just sitting there and like very, very calm, very chill in a way, I would say. And I got through the first round, and I never applied anywhere else other than Ashoka, because they said I just have to pass my board exams, and I was like, I think I can do that much. So I
Right.
got
So
through, and
yeah,
I
sorry.
never worried about anything else. I gave my boards sort of in a very, very, I wouldn't say calm, but like in a much more light-hearted way than other people maybe, who had to then go through so many other admission processes after that.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
So
So yes, so
got
now just a little change. The Ashoka aptitude assessment is now mandatory. You had joined at a time where it wasn't, but now it is. But not to say the process is very self-revealing, and many students, whether or not they make it through, have enjoyed the application process, and that's what the feedback that comes to us. Ritupar, Advait, before I just wrap this up, anything to take away, for me to take away, for everybody else to take away?
Oh, I was just going to say, as it's been said before, just be open about it. I think the process is,
Yes.
it's a very enriching process, and it's a very rewarding process, I feel, and very gratifying towards the end. At least I hope at the end of 3 years, I'll also feel this, which I am partially right now. So yeah, I'm really excited.
Great. Ritupar,
Yeah, I mean, I think writing the essay, I mean, you'll actually think about, yourself in a much more deeper way. It's in fact a good
yeah,
place to self-reflect. And if you're not getting in, at least you have this, you made this effort of like reflecting about who
yeah,
you are as a human being as you're transitioning to being an adult.
yes,
So
right,
it's a fun, rewarding process. It's something that, I mean, don't, like as Rangoli said, don't disqualify yourself from the process just because you feel like you're not going to do well in your boards, or you don't have a sort of like very like spectacular extracurricular achievement. Don't do that. Just be sincere. Just be yourself. And there's a good chance that the admission team sees something in you which you probably do not see yourself. Right? Be honest with them. Be open with them, and all the best.
fantastic. I am enjoying this conversation so much, but I have to call it a day. But I hope to carry on with this discussion offline as well. So thank you so much, Priya, Trisha, Ritupar, and Advait, for joining us this evening. And we hope this webinar was helpful in knowing more about student life at Ashoka University. A few last points before we wrap up today's session. Here's to the audience. Please take a minute to share your feedback with us. The link to the feedback form is provided in the chat box. We invite you to join us for our next webinar, Creating Healing Spaces, an exclusive workshop on mental well-being during the pandemic for high school students on Tuesday, 25th May at 6 p.m. The registration link is in the chat box. We also invite you for a webinar on holistic admissions and need-based financial aid at Ashoka on Friday, 28th May at 6 p.m. The registration links to join the session are provided in the chat box as well. Lastly, I would like to inform our audience that the final round of applications for the undergraduate program is open. The last date to submit your application in this round is 23rd June 2021. You can start your application at apply.ashoka.edu.in. Please visit our website www.ashoka.edu.in for complete details on the admissions process and timeline. If you have any further queries or would like to know more about Ashoka's unique interdisciplinary undergraduate program, you can write to us at apply@ashoka.edu.in or call us on the numbers provided on the screen. Thank you so much. Take care, mask up, and stay safe. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
thank you. Bye.
Bye. Thank you so much.